Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vainglory World Championship Group Draw. We are here to decide which teams are going against which teams as we enter the Vainglory World Championship. Everything is on the line for these guys, and we're going to be jumping on into things. My name is Munchables. I'm going to be hosting the draw for you, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be discovering where your favorite teams are going to be placed for the World Championship. I would be nothing without my analysts. They are Tasty Bacon and Iraqi Zara, as always, and we're ready to get on into the action.
Yeah, cannot wait to see where exactly the teams are going to wind up, who's going to be in these groups, and who's going to have the group of death, where the group of life is going to come from. It is all going to be happening right now.
And how the regions will match up. Some metas are good against some other metas when it comes to the teams and regions, and other metas are better against other metas. So it's all very interesting, and we're all going to see who's going to be going up against who.
Yeah, we're going to get a cheeky little preview of what is going to be happening at the World Championship right here on this show. Now, before we get on into drawing the teams out of our bowl and figuring out who will be going against who, we need to figure out what the rules are for this draw. So we made a short video to explain how this is going to work. 2017 Vainglory World Championship in Singapore. 12 teams from across the world have been qualified into the group stage, including Europe, North America, East Asia, Southeast Asia, South America, and China. In addition to the 10 teams that qualified in their respective regions, 2 wildcard teams have been selected by Super Evil Megacorp to compete in the championship. 1 from East Asia and 1 from North America. Teams will split into 4 groups, with 3 teams in each group. If any team is drawn into a group that already has another team from the same region, they will be automatically advanced into the next available group. The groups will then play a best-of-1 double round robin to determine which 2 teams will move on to the quarterfinals of the World Championship. The remaining teams will fight to prove themselves as the Vainglory World Champions. There are 12 teams that are going to be entering this tournament, but only one of them can win, and each of them will be looking for the easiest possible path to victory. But at the end of the day, everyone will have to defeat the toughest opponents if they want to be the champions. It's about time that we start to get on into this draw. The rules have been explained. The teams have been decided. Tasty Bacon, will you do me the honors of drawing the first team from our bowl?
Absolutely. We're going to get to find out the first team to go into Group A. And it is going to be in that scroll.
All right, so we're going to open this and make sure not to take this off camera at any point. As I pull off the little elastic band, we will be discovering the first team to be announced into their group. It is going to be Cloud9, the North American first team to qualify for the championship from North America. They are going to be our first team. So if we take a look at the bracket, Cloud9 are going to be dropped into the first spot in Group A. So that will be our very first team locked in for the group draw, our North American seed.
Yeah, and Cloud9 getting this seed by virtue of winning 2 Unified Live Championships. They had that spot locked down way back at the end of spring, repeated in summer as well. Obviously a very deserving team, especially after their wins here today.
And honestly, with Cloud9 being in Group A, that's a group that most teams will try to avoid.
We're already starting to see a group of death emerging with Cloud9 being selected as our first team in Group A. Now, Iraqi Zara, will you do me the honors of drawing the second team, or we'll see who the first team for Group B will be?
If I can open it right here.
So we'll just crack that one open. Pass that scroll on over, and we'll see which the first team for Group B is going to be coming on into this one. The elastic bands are a lot easier to put on than they are to take off, apparently. But we are going to be able to open this one up to discover it is going to be G2 Esports. Our European team is going to be the first one to drop into our second group at the World Championship. So G2 Esports going to be the first one to drop into Group B. There's going to be 2 of our teams decided now. So 1 from North America, 1 from Europe. And now it's time to move on to Group C. But G2 Esports, they've had a phenomenal season.
Yeah, able to win out the entire season for Europe. That is how they've qualified for this world spot after an incredible run in Split 2, catching up to SK Gaming and being able to claim the top spot in all of Europe.
They're also going to be the only European representative at the World Championships, so they're going to have a lot of pressure on their shoulders to prove their region proud and prove that this region can go up against others and compete very well.
Probably a bit of a sigh of relief, too, that they are not going to be paired up against Cloud9.
Yeah, if there's EU fans watching, that is going to be relief to see them not against Cloud9 in their group. And SK now going to be supporters of G2 after being snuffed out today, unfortunately for them. But it's time to look at Group C and draw our very first team for our third group at the World Championship. And we'll see who it is going to be. I'm hoping for one of the other regions. We've had one from Europe, one from North America. I want to get a bit of diversity here.
All right, well, we'll find out if we are going to get that with this next pick.
All right, we'll have to have a look. These are a lot harder to pull off than they look, to be quite honest. But here we go. Going to be able to pull this one apart. And it is going to be Team Impunity, the next team to be selected. So that is our third one. The first one going into Group C will be Team Impunity. So our first Southeast Asian team going to be stepping into the tournament. Can't wait to see how Southeast Asia performs here at the World Championship.
Yeah, I mean, Southeast Asia, one of the oldest regions that we have in Vainglory, to be honest, haven't been able to compete very well when it comes to international competition, pairing up against the likes of North America and the likes of EA. This time around, coming in with two teams, and this is one of them, one of the stronger ones as well, is going to be trying to prove themselves.
Yeah, and Impunity getting this spot by virtue of winning in the the summer season, excuse me, of an upset, a 3-2 reverse sweep against the favorites from the Southeast Asian region, and now going to be representing their home country. This is a team that is from Singapore, so they are going to be having the full support of the crowd when we get over to Worlds.
That home crowd advantage. It's time to move on to Group D and find out our fourth team coming on into the World Championship. Iraqi Zoro, can you pull me another team out of the fishbowl, and we'll figure out who the first team in Group D is going to be.
All right, this one opened a lot easier.
All right, so fourth scroll, first team for Group D. This one, a lot of pressure on the draw for this one. It's upside down, but it is in fact Ace Gaming coming on through. Our first East Asian team is going to be the first team in Group D. So we have our first four teams selected now. Ace Gaming, a team with a huge reputation behind them.
A huge reputation, and they won the summer season in EA to qualify for Worlds. Also are dominating the autumn season right now in EA, so one of the most dominant teams, one of the favorites going into Worlds, and everyone will most likely be trying to avoid them. Something that is very interesting is that Scarshield will not be playing for this team at Worlds. Instead, they picked up Wooly. I mean, it's definitely a downgrade when it comes to the synergy, but Wooly is one of the reigning champion members, one of the members that was on Rox Armada when they won last year.
Not just a member, he was the world's MVP last year. Not a bad substitute to bring into your squad, and they have a month to build up that synergy. That's going to be a very scary team.
Honestly, Scarshield is a player that you wouldn't want to substitute out, but if you have to replace him, that's probably a good selection to go for Willie stepping on a current world champion. That is going to be 4 of our teams locked in. We have 1 for each group, and that means it's time to move on to our second row and get our second team. The first opponent for Cloud9. Could you draw me another team, please?
And keep in mind, if this is a North American team, they will not be able to go into this group as virtue of the rules. So we'll see. It's going to be more and more likely that we start getting these repeat regions now that we've gotten one team from 4 different regions.
Absolutely. We'll see where this one is going to go. It is Elite 8, so it can go into our first group. They will be jumping into Group A alongside Cloud9. So our second Southeast Asian team locked in now in Group A alongside our North American team there.
I mean,
go ahead.
Elite 8 is the other team coming out from SEA, and this is another team that is looking to prove themselves because even within EA, they did not have the most dominance. So going into Worlds and going into the international competition, going up against C9, nonetheless, they're going to have one of the harder groups for sure to try and prove themselves. But they have a month to prepare. They got to make the best use out of it.
And they had one back in the spring season. So this is a team that can string together wins when it matters the most. So coming into the world stage, again, none of these teams can be overlooked.
Absolutely. Nobody can be overlooked. And a lot of these regions, we haven't seen international play from in a long time. So I'm excited to see what the performance will be. Once we get to the World Championship, it's time to draw our next team for Group B. Our 6th team, Iraqi Zoro, could you draw the next team, please?
All right, let's find out.
All right, so next team coming into Group B, going against the opponents of G2 Esports. We're going to be able to find out here as I unroll this one. Okay, so this one is undecided which team it is specifically, but this will be the winner of the Chinese Championship. So G2 Esports going against one of the Chinese teams. Once that championship is finished, that will be the last championship across the world to finish, and that will be the last team to qualify.
Yeah, it will be decided next weekend, I believe, and we will be then knowing exactly which team will get that spot. We do know Hunters is already in the world's mix, so it won't be them, but it will be one of these other Chinese teams in that group.
There are actually 2 teams that are right now very close in the competition for that spot. So it's going neck to neck in China over this last world spot available to the region. And anyone securing it is going to be very happy with it.
Absolutely, and we'll find out who that will be in the future once the Chinese tournament has finished, and we'll have our 12th team locked on in. It's time to move on to Group C, though, and see who our next team is. We're past halfway now. It's time to discover our 7th seed, or 7th team, sorry. Tasty Bacon, can you grab me another team? All right, here we go. The shell is cracked open. We'll get the little elastic band off, and we'll be able to discover the next team coming on through. It's going to be the Korean team Rox Armada. Your current world champions are going to be going against Impunity from Southeast Asia in Group C. So we have Southeast Asian and an East Asian team now in Group C. Definitely a group to be watching out for at this stage already.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Group C already seems to be very characteristic in that both teams are from Asia, both teams are from region that are very close and are always competing. Even their communities are always close and within touch of one another. So going up against Impunity is going to be a very interesting one to watch.
Yeah, and of course, as you mentioned, Rox Armada, the reigning world champions, they're going to be coming back looking to reclaim their title and repeat as world champions once again.
Absolutely, and going against the home favorites as well, Impunity will have the crowd behind them. It's time to move on to Group D, though, and find out who our 8th team coming into the championship will be. Iraqi Zoro, could you draw me another team, please? And we'll discover who the 8th team will be coming on into the World Championship.
Here you go, Tasty.
All right, so this will be the opponent going on into Group D. We'll see who this one is going to be. We're starting to run low on teams. We're starting to figure out how the landscape of the World Championship will be playing out. It is going to be Team Solo Mid, the North American squad that everybody knows oh so well. They're going up against Ace Gaming in Group D. We were saying that maybe Group A would end up as the group of death, but I'm not so sure anymore.
It always has to be Group D that ends up being Group of Death. And with TSM and Ace Gaming already in there, you have to expect it to be whoever is going to end up with them is going to be a very unlucky team. TSM, obviously, they just qualified for their spot at Worlds after beating Tribe in the semifinals and going on to the finals. One of the most dominant North American teams. And it's also a team that actually beat Ace Gaming very recently at the Mobile Masters.
Yeah, this is going to be an incredible group to watch, and I do not envy whoever gets drawn into that group at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was going to be a difficult group for whoever ends up in that one. Now we are getting to the point in the draw where we have a couple of teams from multiple regions. EA and North America both have 3 teams from their regions coming each. So at this point in the draw, if we draw teams that already have another team from the same region, we will be bumping the one group over. So it's time to get into Group A once again and get our next team on the board. This is going to be the 9th team of the draw, and we'll see who is going to be going into Group A here. All right, let's take a look at this one. And once again, if this is a North American team, it will be bumped on over as Cloud9 already in Group A. Let's take a look. It is going to be Red Canids coming on through. So this one, I believe, can go into Group A. So we are all solid on Group A. And we are going to have our first South American team jumping on into that group. So that's our first group completed as the Red Cannons, the South American team, stepping on into this one.
Yeah, and this is the team that has been dominating South America for over a year now. They were in complete control of South America last year, represented their region at Worlds, and have done the same again this year to earn this Worlds bid once more. So looking to have a much better performance this time, take the experience that they had from last year into this year's
And the thing about this team, you mentioned the experience taken from last year's World Championship and bringing it here in this next one. This team that is one that improved every single time they went to international competition. I remember the roster. It wasn't the same brand, but it was the roster I played against in the first VIPL, in the second VIPL. And the experience they took there and how they brought it to the first World Championship was very noticeable. So it's a team that improves constantly and very rapidly.
Absolutely, and they've grown a long time during the last year as well. So we'll see how they're going to perform when they get to the World Championship. They are going to be your final team for Group A. It's time to decide the last 3 teams as well. There are only 3 teams remaining, and we're getting to the point where the groups are starting to become locked. So if we can draw our next team out of the bowl, I believe that we're getting to the stage now where, due to the region locks, due to only being 1 region per group, I believe that it's going to be, these are pre-decided on which groups they'll be, but we will draw them regardless so that everybody gets their moment in the spotlight. And also, we get an opportunity to explain who these teams are to you guys. So this is going to be Tribe, the North American team. Now, when we take a look at the bracket, Tribe are not going to be going into Group B, or I believe they have to go into Group C because Team Soul Limit are already in Group D. So that is going to be Tribe locked on in for that one, as they needed to have that spot.
Yeah, and for anyone who's wondering why it's Group C and not Group B, because there's no North American team in Group B, is because there are already 2 East Asian teams in Group C and D, so the 3rd East Asian region team must go to Group B, so Tribe goes to the next group, which is Group C. But this is a team that they got the wild card that had been earned due to Cloud9 repeating as unified Western champions, and a deserved wild card spot. If anyone who's wondering the qualifications behind it, it was taken off their past performances from the whole year. But because Tribe had acquired the Immortals roster, they inherited all of their stats and all of their previous performances, including the 2nd place finish at the Unified Summer Western Championships. And then, of course, this season as well, coming in 4th in the regular season, multiple top 5 finishes throughout the year in the regular season for them. And, of course, you also look at the record, the win percentage for them. It was almost a 70% win percentage throughout this season. A very, very strong team and deserving of the wild card.
Absolutely. Fantastic performance this year from Tribe, and they are going to be going into Group C in our World Championship. And that means there are just 2 teams remaining. So let's draw our next one. Rather than saying which group it's going to be going into, the groups are locked at this stage. We'll draw the teams and we'll assign them appropriately as we
also
go
proves
here.
There's no funny business and that we have every team in the bowl.
We do have every team. Everything is all PC here. It is going to be Hunters as our 11th team here, and this is going to be going into Group D, as the other Chinese team that will be decided later on is already in Group B. So that is going to be our group of death locked on in Ace Gaming, TSM, and Hunters to round that one out.
Yeah, I mean, they were the first qualifiers coming out from the Chinese region. Hunters is one of the oldest teams that has existed in the Vainglory competitive scene, with Godfather being one of their players since the very beginning. It's a team that plays around Godfather very well because he's such a renowned player. A very interesting play style that they have. I cannot wait to see how it matches up against Ace Gaming and TSM.
Yeah, a very historic team in Vainglory. There were a lot of questions this year of how would they perform without Queen being in the roster, and they were able to just continue their dominant run in China and be able to earn that first world spot.
Absolutely, and that leaves us with just a singular team remaining. If you would do me the honors, Iraqi Zara, of drawing the last team, we already know who it is. This is going to be Detonation Gaming, but we'll
let you open it. It's the last one.
We'll open the scroll just to make sure that everybody was here and everyone was accounted for. But this will be the last East Asian team, Detonation Gaming, and they will be going into our final group. So they'll be jumping into Group B alongside G2 Esports and our last Chinese team. And that rounds everything out. You can see your finished Worlds groups before your very eyes right there. This is going to be an incredible World Championship. I cannot wait to get on into games. But honestly, taking a look over things, we have some very interesting groups shaping up here.
Yeah, before we get into that, though, just want to give that overview of Detonation Gaming. This was the first global wildcard. At the beginning of all this, there was one global wildcard that was going to be handed out. It went to Detonation Gaming. This is a team in the East Asian region, but they are a team from Japan. They have been the strongest team out of Japan for a long time now and have been putting in work in the East Asian region as well, consistently finishing in the top 4 in that very difficult region.
Indeed, and when you look a step back and you're like, okay, now we have all the groups, I gotta say, there's no sugarcoating here. Group A and Group B have very clear favorites. So Group A being C9 and Group B being Detonation Gaming.
Absolutely, and we can take a closer look at those groups as well and talk a little bit more in depth about who the favorites are going to be and how we feel these groups are going to pan out. Let's start by looking at Group A, and we can take a look at the rosters for these teams. So Cloud9, your North American squad coming on in here. The first team to qualify from North America, you got Old School, I Love Joseph, and Gabe Visual. Then we have Elite 8, of kind of an old school team as well. We've got Official Hien. I apologize if I pronounce the names wrong. We've got Hun Jaegers, and then we've got Anime Save Me for Elite 8, and then we have Red Canids as well. Falcon Dorian, SR Muster, and Mirotic as well from Brazil. So those are our 3 teams coming out in Group A. How are we feeling about this group overall?
I think, as Zora already said, Cloud9, the clear favorite in this group, but the other 2 teams, they have to be thrilled with actually getting this group because, yes, you're expecting that you are likely to drop to Cloud9, but then you have such a good chance of getting out of this group as both Red Cannons and Elite 8. So this is a definite group that could go either way with those 2 picks. And one of these 2 teams is going to be able to get to the quarterfinals and it's going to have a great time at Worlds.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very close matchup between the 2 teams besides Cloud9. Honestly, even with Cloud9, the South American team and the SEA team both can have very surprising performances going into Worlds, especially since there's going to be little scouting.
Yeah.
I mean, these are teams that you don't have the most information on. It's not the same teams that you go up against every single day in your own region. So there could be a lot of surprises here.
Absolutely, and they're not exactly going to scrim each other because they'll be playing each other in the World Championship. So a lot of surprises to be expected in Group A. Let's take a look at the next group. It's going to be Group B coming on through. G2 Esports, your European team coming on in, the sole European team at the World Championships. Keanu Nakoa, Hundo, and Dark Potato. Chinese team to be decided, so we can't really comment too much on that one. And then Detonation Gaming coming on through. Royal, Kiz, and Tatuki. A team from Japan that honestly have been incredibly impressive over in the East Asian region.
Yeah, and when you come into Worlds last year, this was the team that once the scrim started, everyone was saying, this is a team to watch out for in Detonation. So they are likely to be the favorites heading into this group, but this is the group that I think is the most wide open in terms of any of these 3 teams. We'll have to see which Chinese team is there, but all 3 of these teams will have a great chance of making it out of the group stage, and I don't think there's any one that you can look at and be like, okay, these 2 are going to get out, this one's going to struggle, or this one's clearly getting out. I think it is going to be a fight.
I will have to disagree there. I think Detonation Gaming, in my opinion, is the clear favorite. Coming out of the East Asian region, I mean, they're just so dominant, even over in EA, having to lose only to teams such as Ace Gaming and Rox Armada, who we know are so strong. Detonation Gaming, in my opinion, will be the clear favorites, but G2 have been having incredible performances so far, so they can put up a fight. And obviously, the last Chinese team, once we know who they are, we can know more about them.
Absolutely, and I'm curious to see how that Chinese team will do. Obviously, again, I can't state enough, it's so difficult to power rank the regions against one another when it's been a long time since we've seen international play. Let's take a look at Group C as we move on with our groups. It's going to be Impunity, Rox Armada, and Tribe Impunity with Quatavois, Def Q, and Bluesity, I believe. Rox Armada with Druid, Mango, and Genius, and obviously there's all of the shenanigans with Scosa unfortunately leaving the roster. Then we have Tribe, that is Max Green, Dienzio, and T-Tigers.
Yeah, and obviously during the EA, they haven't been playing with Druid this season, but I have heard that he will be traveling with the team and will be playing with them at Worlds. So this is an incredibly strong team, despite not having the strongest of performances in the current EA season. But this group is going to be an absolute thrill ride. All 3 of these teams, again, have a good shot of getting out of this group because they're all incredibly dominant squads. And especially when we get to the live stage, you never know what Tribe is going to be able to do, and the impunity with the crowd behind them, who knows how that's going to affect them.
Indeed. I mean, this group, this one I can't predict at all who's going to be coming out on top, because like you said, you got Impunity, you got reigning world champions, and you got Tribe, who have been so motivated to go to Worlds and do their best. So it's going to be an incredibly close one, and I can't wait to see it happen.
I can't wait to see how the regions are going to match up. And honestly, how the regions match up will determine a lot in Group C and in all of the groups as well. Let's take a look at the fourth and final group at the World Championship. It's going to be Ace Gaming, TSM, and Hunters. We've got Tassa, Willy, and Creation on Ace Gaming. We've got FlashX, Bestchuck NA, and Von C on Team Solar Mid. And then on Hunters, we have Godfather, Swaggy, and Harmonious coming on through.
Yeah, Hunters definitely not going to be very thrilled about this draw, because Team Solar Mid and Ace Gaming are powerhouses. Even without seeing the international play, you know that those two teams are going to be bringing their A game and absolutely are teams that everyone else wants to avoid. So Hunter's going to have their work cut out for them, but the clear favorites in this group are definitely Team Solar Mid and Ace.
Correct. I mean, I have to agree there. But what I'm more interested to see is how will Ace Gaming be performing with the sub coming in. Willy will be replacing Skosa, as we mentioned earlier, or Scarshield as his new name. And that's going to be a head that the team will take. They have been playing with this player for a very long time, have very good coordination and synergy with him. But obviously, like we mentioned, Willy is not anyone to be afraid of having on your team. So it's going to be a very interesting one to see, and especially with TSM being in the mix there.
I'm incredibly excited to see how these groups are going to pan out. That is everything done and dusted, though. We have our groups locked on in. We have everything ready for the World Championship, which is going to be happening on the 14th to the 17th of December. It's going to be so exciting over in Singapore. Gentlemen, final thoughts on the group draw, final thoughts on how we're feeling the World Championship is going to pan out, because we have all but everything locked on in now.
It's going to be an absolute thrill ride. There's only one or two groups that I think are completely up in the air, but there's one or two groups that are completely up in the air. Like, that is incredibly exciting to see. You never want to go into a group stage and be like, okay, this group's going to go this way, this one's going to go this way. You don't want to have it be obvious. So the fact that there are multiple groups that are, even just looking at them on paper, you don't necessarily know who's going to get through them. It's going to make for an incredibly exciting time over in Singapore.
Yeah. And honestly, even though we're predicting and we're speculating and we're saying this team is better than that, as Munchables mentioned, these are international teams that have not played against one another very often. So the results cannot be predicted that easily. At the same time, though, I'm very excited to see EA style, especially going up against other regions with Rox Armada and Ace Gaming. They have a very specific style that I cannot wait to talk about as we get into Worlds later in December. I'm excited to see how other teams also will try to counter it.
I mean, going into Split 2, I don't think anyone would have predicted G2 would even be at Worlds. So the predictions beforehand don't necessarily amount to much. We could see some massive upsets in the group stage.
There's still a lot of time for preparation for these teams. There's still a month until it all kicks off, but make sure that in a month's time you are there with us. There'll be the 5v5 unveiling at the World Championship as well. Everything will be kicking off on the 14th of December. Make sure that you will join us when we get there. Don't forget as well, if you can't wait until December, we have our challenge battles next weekend if you need some Vainglory esports in your life to decide who will remain in the Vainglory 8 next season. But that's going to be it from us. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the World Championship.